I've got a poop. What's going on, boys?
What is up?
How
At least
are
no
you
one had that
guys?
done to him in this show,
Yeah.
No, absolutely
Yeah. Evidently, early on, there was a sign of some sort. Uncle Bill was telling me about that, but I don't know exactly what it said. I missed out on that. But welcome the first WrestleManiacs post show in 6 or 7 years, I think. It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit, yeah, for sure.
So this is a multi-stream on both Dead Pit and Born to Be Rad channels, and we're welcoming Corey, S'mores Indoors.
What's up, guys? Good to be with you
Welcome
again.
back, man, because, yeah, you're one of the OGs on the original WrestleManiac shows that we did to 2015, 2016.
So, yeah, back when it was dreadful to watch, but I don't know. Yeah. We'll talk about tonight's.
For sure.
Got a lot of people are burning the chat up as well. Lots of comments, which I'm missing. I'm probably going to miss a few of them. I try my best, but my computer's going to explode. Yeah, I mean, post Royal Rumble show, we're going to talk about all the matches. There are 4 matches was all that was on tonight. There was 2 Rumbles and two other matches. So that was kind of interesting. I thought there would be more, but the Rumble matches take up about an hour, at least an hour apiece, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is weird. I don't think that there's usually been a 4-match show before, which is crazy because we had 4 matches tonight total, but it ran a long ass time, which those Rumble matches lasted quite a while. So it was pretty crazy to think about, if there was any more matches, and you even looking like Rhea Ripley wasn't on the card, So, I mean, it was a little bit odd, I think, but it was probably the most hyped I've been before this week for an event in a long time. And then this week kind of bummed me out a bit with all the shit that went down and really kind of took the wind out of my sails when it came to the show. And
a lot of people were asking about the Vince thing on last night's show that we did, Garrett. But yeah, we didn't really talk about that too much, but I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to have to talk about it. I mean, thinking more, and I've looked through, I haven't read everything, but I've skimmed through it.
I've read everything.
The lawsuit, the screenshots, which that's kind of hard to fake, right? They'll be able to go back and pull that if those were real, correct?
Yeah.
Should be able to.
I mean, you would think with the way things are now, you should be able to. I mean, I don't know if they match like phone record times or whatever, but I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it personally because it just fucking bums me out, the whole thing, because it's a legacy. It's a whole thing. I mean, you kind of knew there was, obviously some shady shit going on at some point, but it's just mind boggling to me that like the details of these events, and not only is it the details of these events, but we're not talking Vince McMahon Attitude Era 2000. We're talking Vince McMahon, 76-year-old man, Vince McMahon, right? So that's where it's just so, to me, it is like a different world out there, like in that sense of like, how is this shit even possible? I don't know. You read that thing and it just keeps getting worse and worse, and you're like, what world do we live in where like this was just even going on? And how stupid do you have to be in 2023 in the position that you're in and the legacy you have and the company you have to get yourself into those type of situations, number one. And number two, to send written text messages to somebody, not thinking that would ever be possible that those could resurface again. I don't know. The whole thing to me just seems so bonkers that it's just, he's obviously a lunatic or he's an idiot. I don't know. But the whole thing is just, it just sucks. It just soured me on the show a little bit, but I still was hoping for a good show, and we'll talk about it, but I was not happy with tonight at all. So
no, I just wanted to say too, I totally agree with you. It kind of bums me out. It's sad. This guy that created this thing I loved starting as a kid, and just to see how this is going to be his legacy probably in the end. And I think he's denied a lot of that stuff, but I mean, there was a lot of smoke already, from
right
other stories that came out. So I'm assuming that's probably true. So
Right. So, I mean, this is the same lady that he had the deal with last year, $3 million deal, NDA and everything that he did not keep. So, I mean, there's a couple of things though. First of all, there's something to this. I don't know if all that stuff is true. The doo-doo story seems very, very far-fetched. I mean, that's just, I don't know.
I can't fathom that story. It's just insanity to me. It's like you can't even like write that on South Park insane to me.
Yeah, there is
Like,
for sure something though. I mean, you're not going to offer to pay this lady $3 million. There's something that happened for sure. So, I mean, any of the things mentioned in that lawsuit is bad for Vince, and he should never ever be allowed anywhere near a backstage WWE show again, or any of the talent or anything like that.
And also, if you offer to pay her $3 million, pay her the $3 million. Don't stop after the first payment, maybe.
Right. What is $3 million for
No,
Vince? I mean, he's paid
nothing.
people off dozens of times in the past. So, but yeah, the whole doo-doo story now, that I'm not saying that could never happen, but you would have to be on some good drugs.
100%. I mean that's like like go to loony bin like type of situation shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's fucking crazy to me. Like
I mean,
it's wild. Like who is getting enjoyment out of any of this? Like really? Like it does. I don't get it. Like I don't find it funny. I think it's sad, and I hope that as a company, regardless if this is true, false, half true, whatever, that they can move forward with this and become what they should have been all along with the right people in charge, and this kind of thing just fall to the wayside once he's gone. I mean, because like Corey said, it's something you grew up with, something that you've loved since you were a kid, and of course it's it's heartbreaking just as a whole thing, because I think it's not just him. I think it just feels like it's the whole business in general. Like it goes back to the Carney days, right? Of like is that what we're still in, is like that world. And you just wanted to kind of move forward, and there's been so much upswing with the company that they've needed for a very, very long time. And I feel like that just really took the wind out of the sails leading up to like probably one of the biggest events, in my opinion, in probably almost 10 years, like with what they have for talent, with the hype of like what could be the next Mania, and the deal with Netflix, and The Rock on the board of directors, and Triple H and The Rock, kind of helping run the show. Like the whole thing was just they were in a good place for the company, hoping to see like changes. Triple H open to working with other companies. Like there was so much positives going into this week. And then we just got slapped with this in the middle of the week. And it really just kind of, like Corey said, it really bummed me out. And I'm still kind of bummed out about it. And I wonder if people involved that were working there, fans, everybody tonight was a little bit still bummed out, because I feel the crowd sucked tonight, and I feel like the commentators sucked tonight. Like it almost is like everybody was just, they were phoning it in. The crowd was not doing much of anything, and there was a lot of issues with the show. And as we break it down, we'll go into more. But that's kind of like my overview on the whole situation. Like I don't want to go too far into it, because, like I said, it bums me out. But I just feel like it held a little black cloud over an event that was supposed to be, something amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe Vince will go to XPW now.
He's going to be all elite.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people.
His new look is all elite. I know that much.
Oh, Jesus.
We got a lot of people in the chat. We'll do a little bit of a roll call, and then we'll go ahead and get started with this, because lots of stuff to discuss for sure. Rob Zilla, 884, dude who loves movies. Welcome, sir. Alpha Romero, Mike B, Dynamite Tiger, TJ Frizzy, Gizmo, Justin Smith, Nicholas McMath, Black Peter. That's one of Uncle Bill's favorites. He loves Black Peter. I don't know where Uncle Bill is. Razor's Edge, Suspirian Knot, Jacob Corton House, Gus Amoretti. Welcome, Gus. Wet Movie, who's of course in the house. Jackson Jack. Sarah Presswood, welcome. White Peter. Uncle Bill likes white Peter. He's non-discriminatory when it comes to Peter. He likes black and white. Yeah, so we appreciate Genghis John 25. That's a new name. Haven't heard that one before. The Creepy Onion, Rambo, Raff for Life. Welcome, sir. Yeah, Vince, this is a good point. This is interesting. Yeah. I mean, a long time ago, but that always bothered me. Like the Over the Edge 99, Owen Hart passing away, literally in the ring. Blood is still on the canvas in the ring, and wrestlers are performing, knowing that's his blood. He died right there like 20 minutes ago or whatever. And he continued to have the show. I think he could have easily canceled the show and redone it, a couple weeks later, something like that. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
J Reel's Nutbag, Charles Rollins, Corey Conway, Jerry L, James Hayner. So yeah, we appreciate everybody coming in tonight. A little bit of a different show. We don't do these wrestling shows very often at all anymore, but who's to say? I mean, we may do some classic shows, some of the bigger shows. So it's always fun. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. The show kicked off. Now, again, they were promoting the hell out of St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Tampa the entire show. So evidently they had some sort of promotional deal signed. Hulk Hogan did the intro, which is a little surprising, right? They've had him on before, but he's been in trouble as well in the past.
He's looking pretty good these days, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
in comparison,
he's all good, brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were in St. Petersburg tonight. They kicked the show off with the Women's Royal Rumble, which I think is a tradition. I think they do that every year. Kick it off with, which I like. So the first two that started off, Natalya and Tegan Knox. You guys have any thoughts on those two? Got a super chat, by the way. Thank you, sir.
It's Natalya and
Naomi. Right? Yeah. Naomi.
Oh, I'm sorry, Natalya and Naomi. There you go.
Good to see Naomi back for sure. She's been gone quite a while.
What up, Christian?
Naomi, welcome, Christian. You're in the dark. So gothed out tonight. But Naomi, they had signed a deal, they had said, with TNA about some of their talent making appearances, but it sounds like she's actually back.
Yeah. she's back. I had an issue with it, actually. Like not her, but I don't know if anybody else knew. It's like the commentators, I felt like, didn't know what was going on. Like Naomi's music hit and I'm like, oh shit, Naomi. And like nobody's saying anything. And all of a sudden she's like walking down. They're like, oh, Naomi's here. And I'm like, why did they just go silent for like the first couple minutes? Like the commentators, like no one said anything. I'm like, you don't think that they would be like going nuts? Like Naomi just came back. She's in the Rumble. She's a surprise entrant. She hasn't been in the company for a year or so, but like they just sat on their hands until she was walking down. They're like, oh, Naomi's back. Like it was really odd. And I feel like they did that with a lot of the women tonight. And a part of me was like, and I agree 100% because I didn't, but some of these women that were in the Rumble tonight, like these commentators, I don't think knew their music. Like I didn't know who half the music was for these women coming out, number one. And number two, the way it was set up, like there was no Titantron. So you didn't see like a name flash. They did like a pan like out and you just see a number and you're like looking, you're like, I don't know whose music this is. And I don't even think that the commentators half the time knew who the heck was coming out. So that's what made this women's match so dull and boring, is it was like, it was all people that no one really knew. Did you guys find that? Did you guys find that like you didn't know a lot of these women?
It was, for me, the Naomi thing, it was almost like the announcers were waiting for a big response from the crowd that never really came. I mean, that's what I was kind of getting from it, but
I'll try to be good cop tonight. So one thing I thought was refreshing about this whole women's Rumble is there wasn't the whole slew of past performers. I think it was all like current people in there. So That just shows you kind of what they built in that women's division over the last few years.
Yeah. They they have a huge division. Now here's my thing. I mean, I guess we're not going to go through these individually because who cares really? How many British women with multicolored hair do they have? I mean, they need to figure out some different gimmicks and looks and everything because there's so many that's just generic. Like I can't tell, Indy Hartwell from Tegan Knox, from Ivy Nile, from Katana Chan. Like
It's because they don't have they're not building them up enough. Like they don't really have. I mean, I watch NXT and I've not seen SmackDown in probably years. So I don't follow that show. I'm just not home. So therefore I don't know a lot that's going on. Like the girl from that used to be in TNA that's now with like the OC or whatever. Her name now is like Minchi or whatever. I've never heard that name in my whole entire life. So when she came out, I'm like, what is it, Minchi? I don't even understand what this is. Like, and then I was texting with Freddie and he's like, oh yeah, that's what you call her now. I'm like, well, that I had
they
zero
didn't explain
idea
that either because she started out as what was her name before? I can't even remember.
Mia Yim.
Mia Yim.
Yeah, she started out and then just all of a sudden, like that was her name. Like they didn't explain it or anything. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there was just a lot of that. The one thing about this that I'll say about this women's one that I was really impressed with is that we heard earlier today, I don't know if anybody else heard, but that WWE is opening a possible working relationship with TNA, which I think with Triple H in charge and him open to working with other companies, I think is a huge step for the WWE. Mm-hmm. It was something that they never in a million years would have ever done. So the fact now that they're open to working with other companies, especially like a TNA, I mean, that's huge. And to see them bring out their TNA women's champion, which I'm not too familiar with personally because I don't watch TNA, but she looked like a damn rock star in there. And the fact that they let her go out there and showcase how good she is from another promotion, it made a lot of these other girls in WWE that came from NXT look terrible. And I'm like, well, I got to give them credit for letting them make this woman look like a star. Are they interested in having her like over on their show? I don't know, but she was one of the best parts of the whole damn show was.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not? Like she looked like an American gladiator, really. That's what she was built like.
Yeah.
Big, had a unique look. Loved the attire that she had on, everything really good, strong. Yeah, they definitely want her, I would imagine. So, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting because she had no affiliation prior. Like they had Mickie James, I think last year, who was in TNA, who had been there before. Right. So there's really no reason for Jordynne Grace to show up just out of the blue like that. But I think it's kind of cool. And like you were saying, it's a little bit of a game changer, makes things way more interesting.
Yeah.
We keep hitting it at the same time. Good. Welcome back.
You see me better now?
Oh yeah,
yep,
for sure.
Looks good.
We were talking about the Women's Rumble and that it was pretty cool that they brought in that TNA chick who I think did a really good job, and it was nice to see that they gave her something to do. I think that she really showcased herself well, and that's good for the brand, for their brand. Because to be honest, I wasn't familiar with her at all before tonight.
Me neither.
But she did well. And I think there was a lot of women that WWE has that came in that didn't do well. There was a lot of botches in this match.
Yeah.
And the camera kept doing these weird things where all of a sudden like something huge was going on, but like they would just show like one woman's arm like buried in the other one's head, like in the corner. I'm like, what are they looking at? And it's either that they botched over here and they didn't want to show it, or the camera work was terrible during some of this match.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the biggest showcases, was that TNA girl. And I think another big showcase for me was, as much as they use her in weird ways, I think they love Chelsea Green, because all the spots they had her do, comedic or not, like they would never put that much focus on anybody unless they thought highly of them. So I thought she had a pretty good showcase too.
She's got, good character, and she's good on the mic and everything for sure. Now, there were a couple of spots though. Nia Jax, which I know is one of Garrett's favorites.
Ugh.
Dude, like I mean, I understand, like, she's The Rock's cousin or however that works. She's always going to be there, but they need to avoid her in these big spots because she's going to there's going to be some major injuries, some more because of her. Like, there were a couple, like when she just dropped Piper Niven like a sack of shit, pretty much, and didn't seem to care. They need to. I don't. What do you guys think of Nah?
Well, I mean, Rock's on the board now, so she's there for good, I'm sure.
Put her in a backstage role though, or something. I don't know. I mean, it'd be a little safer.
Yeah.
How about you, Christian? What did you think of this women's Rumble?
I'm gonna sound so much like a pig because I don't talk about how good they wrestle. None of that crap. I never will. Chelsea is smoking hot. I'll watch her play fucking chess for an hour and a half. Jade is like a legitimate like Black China. She is jacked to the gills. She's an attraction. I like her. But I feel like Nia's gimmick now is injured people because they talk about it in promos. So I feel like that's like her thing now.
She lives her gimmick is
yeah. No, Chelsea's smoking hot. I'll watch her. I just want to watch her all day long. No doubt about it. Well, and Bailey has the best ass in the world. I'll watch her all day too. But I was watching the press conference and one of the guys actually asked Cody about Vince.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He just basically was like, all I can say now is our team is very family oriented, blah blah blah. He didn't dodge the question, but he's basically just saying like we're moving on. Is what it sounded like. I don't think Vince will ever be back on the board.
No.
I agree, Black Peter. Bailey's pants were too damn baggy tonight. I totally agree.
That's no good.
God, she's hot.
But
did you think though that there were a lot of just generic, like maybe it's because I didn't know them or whatever.
It was. It was. I thought so. I thought it was very generic. I actually thought that this showcased how poor that their roster is of stars when it comes to the women. I mean, there was some good ones in there, no doubt, but there was a lot that were thrown in, which, I kind of knew, but I didn't know their music. I don't think the audience knew their music. I don't think it helped that there was no Titantron. So like nobody knew who was coming out, except
and they're all like 4'10" British girls with like multicolored hair. They all look the same.
Yeah, like I used to really love this blonde chick, Carmella. I wish she would come back.
She's had a baby, so she's out. Yeah,
Carmella's
back eventually.
She'll be back. I think what they did with Jade Cargill was probably the best thing they could have done with Jade Cargill, because Jade Cargill is, like you said, an attraction, but she wasn't comfortable coming to WWE because she was never properly trained enough. AEW just looked at her and said, "Okay, you're our champion," and put her in like these squash matches, so she never had to do anything. And then WWE brings her in. She messed around with some of the women there and was like, "Oh my God, I'm so behind." So they sent her back to NXT, and Triple H says, "Hey, listen, you're our future. So you tell us when you think you're ready to come up. You do what you need to do." So today was her big debut, at least for now. I don't think she's going to be on the main roster yet, but I think this was a showcase and it could have went very bad. But I think what they had her do made her look pretty special. And I think that, it was handled well, because it could have went terrible. If she would have came out there and botched a lot of stuff, that could have set her up for failure, I think. So I think they played it pretty safe with the Nia thing. I mean, it got me a little nervous thinking she wasn't going to be able to lift Nia up, but I like what they did with her. She looked strong, and I think that that's what they needed in a very minimal capacity. So she did well, and I think Tiffany Stratton showcased really well, and I think she's the future for that company too, because she's really good in the ring. And she was one of the women that came out, one of the newer ones, and was doing all of her stuff and didn't botch once. Most of these new girls, they botched quite a bit. And it didn't seem like they didn't know what to do when they were in there. Everybody was kind of like in each other's way. I don't know. I actually found this match to be pretty disastrous, to be honest with you. But that's just me.
I mean, there's probably 66% of those girls may have not even ever been in a battle royal. So, I mean, it could be a new concept for them. So,
Yeah, I was looking. Actually, there's only on Wikipedia of the 30. Technically, there was only 2 of them that were NXT, which is kind of odd. You would think that. I mean, because there were a lot that I didn't recognize in there, but they're bringing a lot of them up evidently from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. So, but yeah, I mean, Bayley was your winner. I think there were rumors coming out that she was going to win. She's up for a huge push. I think they're going to turn her back face, and the damage control is going to turn on her or whatever, however they're going to do it. What do you guys think of Bayley as a face again? Because I think she's a great heel. She's a great bad guy for sure.
It's going to be kind of strange to see her as a face and not in that old Bayley character. Be interesting how she approaches it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think to be honest, it was probably the smartest move to make because you can count on her for a good match. You know that people would cheer for her winning the Rumble than somebody kind of out of nowhere, and it sets up the damage control split, and then it still gives Rhea another match because Bayley's going after the damage control champion, not Rhea, but then it gives Rhea something else to do at Mania too. So I think it was probably the safest bet. And it gives Bayley a little bit more cred because I feel like she's kind of held back compared to like the people like Becky and Charlotte all these years. So it kind of gives her a little bit of an oomph that she won it tonight.
Yep.
So continue on. Like I said, there was only 4 matches tonight, and the second match was the Fatal 4-Way with our buddy Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton. And this one just I wasn't really looking forward to this match at all. I was like, whatever. It ended. It just seemed like it abruptly ended. It was so weird. Like I don't know. It was a long match, 19 minutes and 30 seconds, but it wasn't really built up. I'm not a fan of Fatal 4-Way matches anyway.
I usually actually really like those defenses Roman has. They're usually pretty fun matches, but this one was just a little flat and really didn't get going at all. I didn't feel like
Fatal 4-Way matches are tough, man. It's a tough road to navigate. I think it would have been nice to see a couple of these guys in the Rumble because these are big name guys that could have easily have been the people to win the Rumble. Like it would have been more people. If at the end you see Orton sitting there and not Ricochet coming in, I think it just gives a little bit more, what ifs to the Rumble itself. But they went with the Fatal 4-Way. I think all these guys into the stars. It could have probably went anyway. I knew Roman was going to probably be the guy to continue to Mania, but I think people like LA Knight and even AJ. I mean, AJ is in the best shape, I think, of anybody in the WWE right now. He's like reinvented himself completely. And I'm like, that guy's got another, at least I think 5 years left in him. And hopefully they find something special to do with him because he's still unbelievable. Looks great. He can still perform great. I mean, that guy is like AJ. He's like going backwards in age, this guy. So
yeah.
I think these guys are great. And I know Christian was a big fan of LA Knight. And I think that this guy is hot, and they better not hold off on him because I think they're gonna miss something special with this guy. These guys like this don't come around often, and they need to capitalize on it. Maybe not world champion, but I would have him probably, get a secondary title and see how this guy does with it before they decide what they're gonna do with him next. But I hope he just doesn't kind of flounder because he is over.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Roman Reigns, though. So, well, I guess we'll talk about that towards the end. But for this match, I didn't feel that there was any chance of these guys winning. It's just another match that, they had to find some sort of championship match for Roman to be in. And this is what we got for the Rumble. So, I honestly think it would have been better if it was just Orton and Reigns in the match.
It did end abruptly. I will say it did kind of end randomly. I see Austin saying maybe LA versus Logan at Mania. Actually, that might be the direction they're going to go.
That's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Which I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens. And this was a singles match for the U.S. Championship. What can you say? I like Logan Paul as far as for a guy that's not really a wrestler, he does a great job. He's got a great persona and everything. But I just wasn't really into this feud at all. So this was kind of your bathroom break match, at least for me. If you had to go, take events, I'm going to use that now. There you go. That's your match.
I don't know. I thought this match was awesome. I wouldn't have want to missed it. It was action packed. I mean, friggin' Logan Paul was bleeding from his ear and bleeding from his mouth. I mean, this guy, I don't know much about him on what he does outside of wrestling. I know he's a big star. I don't follow him really, but when it comes to wrestling, this dude's taking it serious. He respects the business and he's good. And I think that, man, being a big name like this, like he deserves everything he's getting because he's great in there. Every single time he's in there, he looks like $1 million. I mean, there's guys that have been wrestling for 10 years that don't look as good as this guy does. So, I mean, love or hate him from a personal standpoint, I think he's the real deal. And, I think this is good for the company to have someone like him, representing that secondary title, because it's about time that we get these secondary titles feeling like big titles again with him and Gunther and all that stuff. But Christian, what did you think of this match?
It's probably my least favorite match he's done. All the rest of them I think have been way better. But I don't think Kevin Owens was like I'm kind of over him. Like, he's fat, they call him a prize fighter. What the fuck? Like, I really don't get it. And I like Kevin, but like I wish he would just play into the fact that he's out of shape. Like, that's his character. Like, he's a prize fighter.
He used to.
Like, what?
Didn't he have didn't they used to call him the Panda or something like that? Like, he used to have Panda Bear shirts and shit.
Oh, I don't remember. Was that when he was Ring of Honor? Maybe
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's not like athletic or he's not tough, but like it's like, oh, I really hate that kind of stuff. Like, he's walking out with a gut, but he's a prize fighter. Like, come on. I like him though, but I hate it when they try to pretend about stupid shit like that. But no, I like when Rogan fought when Logan fought Ricochet, that was crazy. They did all kinds of shit. To me, like, he didn't really do a lot of crazy shit. I like Logan, but they've already discussed it. Like, the dude has to prep. He wrestles once every couple months because they literally have to choreograph his entire match, which isn't a bad thing because they do crazy stuff. But this was my least favorite he's done.
I think Logan had a good match with Roman at that Saudi show too.
Yeah, that was really good.
And I'll say Logan Paul has a better buckshot lariat than Adam Page.
Well, that's not really saying a whole lot, though.
No.
But do you think maybe there could be an LA Knight Logan Paul feud? I mean, I don't watch SmackDown, so I don't know. Have they teased anything with those two guys at all?
No, to me, it makes perfect sense for him to go against The Miz, because The Miz, like, I'm the showman, I'm the biggest. Like, that makes sense on paper for them two to go at it. I think LA Knight doing anything but being up against the main events is stupid.
Yeah,
I
just for a win.
I think going to be a U.S. champion, like, I don't give a fuck about those titles. To me, that's just like, hey, you're not good enough to be main event. Well, to me, if LA Knight goes for that, kiss it good. I think that's dumb. I hate those titles.
But the thing was, it's because those titles have been junk for so long. Like, when I was a kid, like, those were big deals. Like, that was basically saying, hey, if this guy can handle this belt, then this is a stepping stone for him to possibly be the next guy. Like, I mean, when you look at some of those old champs, like, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Steve Austin, Rock, like, when you look at all those guys and see what they amounted to, but then there was a period of time where those belts for a long time didn't really matter, and they were just on anybody, for a long time.
Well, I think when they started adding more titles, that hurt too, because back in the the 80s and most of the 90s, it was the tag title, intercontinental title, and the world title. That was it.
Still a secondary title, but Christian, would you feel better if he's the one that beats Gunther?
No, I think he's way too good for that stupid title too. He's a main event guy.
Okay.
I don't like those titles. I don't know. To me they're just like, hey, you're just not good enough to be main event yet. I've never been into them. I used to like the hardcore title, but I'm a heavyweight champion guy.
24/7 title, that was a good one too. That big green one they had.
I'll never forget when they booed it when Mick Foley pulled it out.
Oh, and that was all the cracked and everything.
I was booing from my couch. I'm stiff on that kind of stuff. I'm not into those. I'm not into those other titles. I just never have been. I used to like when I was a kid. I liked the European title just because it was such a ridiculous ass title. The European title.
It would be
they give that to like Gangrel and D'Lo Brown, like when you like, and we'd see it once every 3 months. Like, oh, we forgot that title exists.
It's tough, man, because the problem is, I think now is I don't want more titles, but I think that they've got so many big names now that it's hard. But so didn't the Attitude Era, and they were able to make it work for everybody. I mean, that's what was nice about that is, I mean, they were playing hot potato with that belt so many times. They had one title, and it was like 1 week it was on Austin, then for 2 weeks it'd be on Triple H, then it would be on to Foley, then it'd be to The Rock, then back to Triple H. So they were hot potato in that thing around, which was good and bad because it made all those guys feel like stars. And if one guy was out on injury, they had another 3 or 4 guys that could carry the show. So, I mean, you know, it would be nice to have something like that where these guys are all chasing the belt and having like a bunch of main eventers. But I get it. It's probably hard to kind of make that all work. But they do have a lot of talent in that upper echelons of like main event for once, you know, in a great while. So it's good to see. Instead
of a TV title, though, they're going to have a Netflix title.
You know what, dude? I'm not going to freaking I wouldn't count that out, to be quite honest with you. I swear I wouldn't. Because you never know.
So, continuing on, though, the last match of the night, the Men's Royal Rumble. This one started off with the Usos, which when I saw the first Uso, I was like, I bet they're going to have.
I said the same thing.
Yeah. And of course, that's what
they had that old demolition spot.
Yeah. And the Men's Rumble didn't really have, what would you say, the only surprise? There were a couple of odd things in here, like Pat McAfee, and somebody in the chat mentioned this. He obviously wasn't prepared to wrestle at all. So that was probably Brock's spot. I think they've got it. That was probably because it was just literally, and I hated that too, by the way. You jump in there and you just jump out instead of.
I mean, think about that though. That was probably Brock's spot, right? But what a freaking waste. When you had guys like you could have called Sheamus, anybody to come out and take that spot. I'm sure there was people in the back. Was Cardona back there with Chelsea Green just sitting around in her locker room that you could have said, hey, gear up, dude. We need you to come out. Gonna pop, go back in. To have McAfee get up, say, no, well, I'm not going to do it, and come back down. That sucked, man. That was a pathetic waste, lazy.
Booker T was there. Could have called Booker T.
Right. Anybody, right? Anybody of some kind of note or surprise, somebody different. I mean, anyone to just have McAfee just go in and then step out was junk. And I feel bad for anybody on that roster that didn't get in that Rumble. Chad Gable, not in the Rumble. Like anybody that wasn't there that McAfee took that spot from, which would have been Brock, but anybody could have filled that hole. Went in, did a couple things, boom, out. So that really pissed me off. And I was laughing at the beginning of this Rumble because like for the whole first half of the Rumble, the whole story was no yeet, everybody kept saying. And I was laughing the whole time because it was like a whole thing. Like Jimmy's like, no yeet. And then Waller comes out and he's like yelling no yeet. And then somebody would attack Jay.
Could you imagine the pop Tatanka would have got?
Anybody would have got one. But
I guarantee you Tatanka would have got a bigger pop than Andrade got when he came out.
He looked like, when he came out, I thought it was Albert as like that Tenzai gimmick. I was like so confused. I was like, who is this? I don't know, man. That was the surprise. Braun Breaker and Andrade with a big.
Almost, they brought Almost back, or Almost,
yeah.
or whatever. He's been gone a while.
I'll tell you another thing I wasn't a fan of is I feel like you shouldn't have Damian Priest in there since he's got the Money in the Bank. Like
It's true. They
that
could
could
have held that spot open.
I thought he was going to cash it in.
Cashes in like to be at the end or whatever.
No, like
that
during the
really
main
doesn't. He already has a guaranteed championship match, so it really doesn't make sense.
Well, he's going to cash in at Mania when Punk beats Seth.
I don't know. I think Damian. I don't know if Damian's going to get that belt. I think he's going to fail that cash, or it's going to be way later. I just don't think. I don't know. I just don't think he's ready at all for it. But who knows? Who knows what's going to go on with Judgment Day? Because now they're saying Balor might leave when his contract's up in April. Who knows?
Speaking of Judgment Day, is JD McDonough not the ugliest dude in the world?
He's really weird looking.
He's like an oversized little person. That's what he like when he.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he looks like. You would think that he was what's the proper word to call it? Little person.
Yes.
Who's that Australian dude? The tall Australian guy.
Well, Waller.
Oh, I love him. He was talking shit the whole. He is hysterical.
Jeremy goes, yeet. That's the cringiest thing I've ever heard.
I love him. And then when he was talking shit, while he got like, to me, that's just guys like that. To me, it's just like, okay, you realize this whole thing is just theater and it's supposed to be fun. I love that those kinds of guys. When they go to Australia for that whatever show, he's gonna get the hugest reaction. I bet money. They're gonna love him when they go over there.
I think they see something in him. I really do.
Oh, he's funny. Like, yeah, he made me laugh. I love him.
Him and the other one kept saying no yeet for like the
That's
first
cringe,
half.
mate. That's the cringiest thing, mate. I think it is cringy. I hate the Usos. I hated the Usos when I first saw them. I hate them till this day. They have horrible haircuts. They're not stars. I don't like them. They're trash. Both of them.
Oh my God! Wow.
Hate them.
I'm actually impressed with the Usos. I think the Usos are impressive because
hate them.
After all this time for them to be over as much as they are as singles, I'm pretty shocked that they were able to.
They don't draw money. They only work with people that draw money.
So when he does this, those people.
That's all he's got. Like that's it.
He's got yeet. You know yeet.
So you haven't been down since day one-ish?
No, when I used to come out and do this. Oh, I used to hate it. I hated it. I just think it's stupid.
I'm gonna send you a no yeet shirt. Would you wear it?
If no yeet, yes, I'll wear it.
Okay, no yeet. All right.
And then they do that stupid leg slap crap. They make it so painfully obvious. And one of them was wearing like leather pants. He couldn't even like pick his legs up. They were my wife is casually watching. She's like, "Why did that idiot wear those pants?"
I was asking myself.
He looks stupid. I hate him. I think they suck.
Cody in the chat was right when the Usos came out and they were face to face, like they were the first two. They kept making weird faces, like snarling at each other. It looked like two dogs about to like attack each other. I said that. I was like, why are they growling at each other?
I hate them. Terrible.
Is no yeet Samoan for no DUI? I just
Which one got the DUIs? I can't even
remember. I thought both of them did.
I don't know. The red one, the no yeet.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Wang Yang got it.
It's yeet and no yeet.
So
I don't even know their names. Which one? Okay, Jimmy is no yeet, right? It's Jim. Or is that Jim?
Jimmy and Jay.
Jay's yeet.
Jay's the baby face.
Yeah.
Right, so
what the fuck does that even mean? Like I never even really looked at
it. It's some kind of Gen Z crap, I'm sure.
But what's so funny is I was dying. If you go back and watch it, like he kept saying no yeet, he had the shirt, and then Waller said no yeet when he came in, and then they're beating him up. And then who is it? Somebody else came in. It might have been somebody like kind of not somebody you wouldn't think of. They were like attacking Jay. Jimmy walks over to me and goes, "No yeet." He's like, "No yeet." And they start like beating on him. And I'm like, what is going on? He's trying to find people that like are no yeet to like beat up his brother. And he just kept saying it for like the first quarter of the match. I was dying laughing.
Bronson Reed. What do you guys think of him? I actually really like the fact that back in the day, you had guys of all shapes and sizes and shit, right? And anymore, there's so many like 6'5" dudes with short haircuts, and they've got tattoos and shit. Why can't there be more fat guys?
It should be, because they were fun to watch back then. You know, when the guys would used to lift him and then they'd fall back because he was so big
and he's just an oddly shaped one too. Like, he very much reminded me of Mantar, so I've nicknamed him the modern day Mantar, Bronson Reed.
I wish he'd come out in that head.
I used to love those big guys.
I know, same.
But I hate now that now that they're all 5'3" and fat. Like, I miss the days when they were like Vader and Big Boss Man and
King Kong Bundy.
Yeah, these new guys, they just look like potatoes. What's that one? What's the redneck one? That like, oh God, I hate him.
Oh, the one that's part of the thing with Chad Gable, the shush, that guy.
He wears cut off shirts.
Otis.
Yeah. Oh God, I fucking hate those guys.
Otis is tough because he doesn't even like.
He's actually a collegiate wrestler, I think.
And he's actually he's a huge horror fan. Huge. He has a horror collection. He's got this whole thing. He's a big horror guy. You wouldn't talk to him about horror?
No.
Shockmaster, man. I like some Shockmaster.
You know who else is a huge horror fan? Austin Theory. Have you ever seen his collection?
Really?
Yeah.
I like Austin. That dude's the real deal.
He's the real deal.
John Amplis is a big wrestling fan too. I didn't know about that until tonight.
You know who I really hated? I swear, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. He went to AEW. He was a big guy. He was a black guy. What is his name? He went
Mark
to AEW.
Henry.
No, I love Mark Henry. Sexual Chocolate's the man. That's a star. I'm talking about this guy came out in the
Keith Lee.
People were out. I have friends. I'm not gonna. And Corey knows one of them. He wears a hat, and he would say, "Dude, that dude's in shape. He's a big." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" His people act like he's tough. His fucking gut is hanging over his waist. Keith Lee, yeah. And people acting like he's like. And then he goes to AEW, and in 3 months he gains 60 pounds, and his hair goes gray. And people act like he's like, what the fuck happened to that guy?
Listen, here's the thing.
People would act like he's so tough, and they're like, "Oh, dude, Lester's in for it. He's got Keith." What are you talking about? Keith Lee looks like a fucking he looks like a melting chocolate bar. Like he's just fat. And his gut, his belly is hanging over his waist, and people act like he's so tough. And then he goes to AEW, gains 60 pounds, and he's full gray hair. I don't understand.
It's the WWE, like it's the machine, right? So it's funny that you say that because Keith Lee was very well known before WWE, before NXT. I didn't know him from the indies. He was a big, heavy, super heavyweight guy. He was a super heavyweight guy that was so big, but he could move pretty agile, right? So when he came out for the first time in NXT, he was like in the audience, and they said, "Oh, it's our new signee, Keith Lee," and he had gray hair. And I remember saying to people, I go, "Who's this old guy that they're bringing in?" And they're like, "No, he's really good." Then he debuts, and his hair's black. So like, you know, WWE puts you through the system where they clean you all up. They put him, he looked like 10 years younger, right? So then when he goes to AEW, and it's not like that, you know, that thing of like, make sure your hair's dyed, pal. Like he looks older now.
Does he not realize he looks fucking ridiculous?
So like now he looks like an older guy now.
He's barely on TV anymore too, though. So
that's the thing. Like he was, and he's been sick and stuff. But I mean, I think it was a big mistake that they, I don't know. I thought he was good. He was different, but I think him moving to AEW was a huge mistake for him. He's nothing over there. Nothing.
I mean, a lot of people are impressed when fat guys can flip. I mean, so I just want to say,
when people say like, dude, he's like, when people they pretend like he's not just a big heavy dude with a belly. They talk like he's like this, like he's built like Brock Lesnar or something. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, I feel bad that I have to say, well, his gut is hanging over his fucking waist.
That's like WWE's way, though, right? So, like the commentators and stuff like that,
I guess
hype that stuff up, right? Because you know, even with anybody, they could be in shape, out of shape. But I mean, even back in the day, they never said, you know, Earthquake was fat. They never said that. They would say like, you know, this guy's a monster or something. Like they'd upsell like.
Those guys back in the day had a different way of working, though. They didn't. None of them tried to do backflips and shit. Like, well, Vader did, but that was just Vader.
Vader was the man.
Yeah, So like they worked that style, and anymore, I mean, I guess wrestling's different now. You can't really do that, but yeah, I think Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, even Kamala, man, I freaking loved Kamala back in the day. Can't do a gimmick exactly like that anymore, I don't guess, but you know what I'm saying. The big guy gimmick. I would love to see. You know, Bronson Reed, I think, is pretty good. He's actually an older guy, though. I was looking; he's 35, almost 36 years old.
That's not old.
He's older, though.
Next week, Keith Lee and Otis on Planet Dirty.
Dude,
Stay tuned for that.
So the big question, though, was who's going to win the men's Royal Rumble, and a lot of rumors that The Rock was going to be in it. He was going to be a surprise entrant in it. And at the final three, was it the final three? CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Gunther. And my boy Gunther, unfortunately, didn't. He was the first one out, and it came between Cody and CM Punk. And by that point, I was pretty much like, yeah, fuck, they're going to let CM, Cody's going to win it again. What do you guys think about him winning it second year in a row? WrestleMania 40, the main event, is it going to be Roman Reigns and Cody again?
Yeah, he already announced it tonight.
Yeah.
He said he pointed to him and said, "I want you." So he already put it in the hat as soon as it went off the air. Yeah. So it's going to be Cody and Roman, which again, I think they're making up for a mistake they made last year, in my opinion. I think they should have did it last year. They didn't, and I think they're going to go back and fix it. They have to. I think it's the right thing to do. As much as I didn't really care for another victory, same guy 2 years in a row, like do something different. I think it was the easiest, safest, right thing to do because, Punk could have won, challenged Seth for sure. But then how does Cody get to Roman? It would have been a mess.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have been a smooth transition. You would have been in the Elimination Chamber, but that would have been for SmackDown guys. So how would he have gotten in there? Right. So it was just messy. It was the cleanest way they could do it. Now Punk can challenge Seth because he hates him. They're both on Raw. Like it just works out. And it's going to be Seth and Punk are going to main event the first night. Cody and Roman are going to main event the second night. They're going to keep it easy. And then from here, hopefully we move forward with two new champions moving into 2024 and see what they can do for the company. And I'm actually in a point right now where I'm ready for a babyface champion again. Like the chase has been going on way too long. It's like all it's been is heel champions for probably like 15 years since Cena. So I'm curious to see what happens when someone like a Cody Rhodes or CM Punk or somebody that's over as a babyface can take the company. Will it work? I don't know. It might be a big failure, but put it on Cody and say, show us what you got, man, and see what he can do. I mean, I think it's a much needed situation, I think. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, going back to when we used to do these shows, they couldn't create a popular babyface to save them, and now they seem to have a lot. And so, yeah, I'm sure he's going to probably win that match, and like you said, Punk's going to go to Seth. And
what happens with The Rock, though? They teased that. Where do you go with that? Is that going to be like are they wanting to do that maybe on a Saudi show or something?
I don't think Rock and Roman need the belt. So I think once Cody's done with Roman and Rock and Roman want a feud for like tribal chief, they can do that. I don't think the belt needs to be involved. So I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to wait. Do that later as like a special event, and then Cody will be challenging someone new.
Could do that at SummerSlam or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're going to do because it would be silly to have Roman and Rock and then for the title. It's too much going on in one match where we have so much other talent that needs things like belts. Rock doesn't need to have a belt in play for his match to be a top storyline. So I think they're going to still do it. I just think it's going to be later.
What if Rambo's asking? What if Rock was the referee for Roman versus Cody?
I mean, he could very well be.
Stupid.
Could be that way. Could very well go that way. I mean,
that could see that setting that matchup.
Right. Maybe. That could set it up. He counts that 3. Roman's offended by that. Why would you do that to your family? Blah, blah. It could be a whole setup for sure.
What I thought was interesting, though, Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, the final two in the Royal Rumble this year. What would it have been? A couple of years ago, they were both in AEW together.
Yeah.
What does Tony Khan got to be thinking when he sees like 50,000 people or whatever it was in the United States? In the United States.
Tony
I
Khan's
think
an
he was
idiot.
probably. I think he was probably shaking his head, being, "What the hell? What just happened here?" Because literally, like 2 years ago, these two guys were in his company, and they were supposed to be his all-in main event that year. And Cody left, that screwed that up. And Punk left, and it was and now he's looking at what his main event is now the main event tonight. It's been an interesting couple of years in wrestling, man. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they kind of feel, I don't expect them to go out of business or anything, but it kind of feels like 2000s when WWF was on top and WCW was kind of falling. But
It does, 100%.
I'd much rather watch 2000 WCW than AEW today.
I would too.
I think so. Yeah, I mean,
I can't stand 130-pound guys choreographing acrobats in the ring. I hate it. It's stupid.
I think that when Cody left, backstage and just the overall structure of those shows changed so much. Like, I don't know what he was doing backstage creative wise, or if he was doing anything, or if it was just my imagination. But whenever he left, like, those shows just seemed to completely fall apart. And as far as storylines goes, whatever they had going, like, it just completely changed when he left.
Yeah.
I thought.
I pray to God MJF gets out of there, and Jericho just needs to have a real long, hard look in the mirror. Just a real long, hard look.
Agree. I mean, I think
nobody there can say, Jericho, you look stupid, man.
Is it over for him? Is that what you're saying? He needs to just do music or something?
Just needs to have a different kind of role. Like, I don't know.
He's on there too much too. Like, he need to go away for a while. Go away for 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Go on vacation.
Yeah. MJF's a star though.
They've got a lot of great guys there. Cesaro, I always like Cesaro. He's there still.
He can't talk. He's a wrestler. That's all he is.
Sometimes that's all you need to do. He's very athletic, crazy strong. I think I heard John Cena say that he was the strongest guy in the whole company when.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. I wish Cesaro was a bigger name for WWE, but I think he's got the look, he's got the talent. But I agree that was his downfall, was his talking. I mean, I think people can get away with being good on the mic rather than and be a little bit lack in the ring, and I think they can still let it fly. Like, Cesaro will outdo LA Knight in the ring any day of the week, but I think someone like LA Knight will get farther based on just his gift of gab and his look. Yeah. I think that'll get him farther down the line.
I just don't think he has that X factor. Like, I'm the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world, and I'll be the first to tell you Bret Hart wasn't exactly the best guy to ever talk on the microphone, but Bret had an X factor to him. Mm-hmm. Clearly. Cesaro, to me, he's just a wrestler.
I disagree. I think that
we'll see who's right about that.
Well, I think the problem is now is that Cesaro I think he's too old now to ever be what he could have been. I don't think he's going to get that. I don't think he's going to be world champ now.
Nobody is going to be a star out of that rinky-dink company besides MJF.
No, not there, because they don't. I mean, hell, they're gone for 3 months and they just randomly show up every once in a while on the show.
Yeah.
Like, they have fucking way too many people employed there that they only have 4 hours of TV a week or whatever it is, 5 hours of TV a week.
When they announced WWE, when it had the thing that said WWE to Netflix 2025 or whatever, January, they had like that big banner that they would post everywhere.
Yeah.
I saw that same day that said January 2025 AEW to Tubi.
Sincerely, though.
And people have posted all over the place.
Dude, a lot of people watch Tubi. I bet more people watch Tubi than watch PBS.
It's true, but it was just funny that it was like that would be them like, oh yeah.
You know what I would do though?
Oh my God.
Here's the chance, because it's Netflix still. There's a lot of people that don't have Netflix. AEW could move one of their shows to Monday night, and it would be on actual TV.
Hey,
what do you guys think of that?
That would probably be the smartest thing they could do.
Up until the people that check it out have to watch it again for week 2.
But I mean, there's going to be a void. You would probably, try to get your shit together and start a new show up.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing good about AEW is Tony Khan's cocaine-fueled post-show scrums.
Yeah, those are better than the pay-per-views. I look forward to those, actually.
Oh, man.
Where he doesn't blink. He doesn't blink for 30 minutes. Those ones?
I just love watching Vince Russo's show where they break down the scrums and they just pause it and look at the weird faces he makes and how he has to, like, really hug all the wrestlers, like, tight, hug them tight. Something's not right with that guy.
Tony Khan to me is like a kid that collects baseball cards, and he's collecting all the wrestlers he can.
I agree 100% with that statement. I think that's exactly what it is.
And it'll be over whenever his dad says it's over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd read this on one of the wrestling news sites. So we were talking about WCW earlier. When Turner bought WCW in '88. From 88 to 2001, when they folded, all the money that WCW lost, right? AEW has already lost more money in the 5 years or so that they've been around than, 16 plus years or whatever it is that WCW was at Turner. How crazy is that?
I believe it.
That's crazy.
They were
paying some big money out.
There was some weird clip of Big Show with a bent left knee in the middle of the ring at some house show thing promoting AEW, and he was like with his big ass finger, "It's buy a ticket, get one free." They couldn't give you. There was a clip of him. They can't give. I told you. I looked on AEWTix.com today.
Oh yeah, you sent that to me. Yeah.
First of all, when I say it wasn't even a third of the arena that they were, this was an arena they had filmed this in. They weren't even selling a third. It wasn't even for sale. It was less than a third of the other arena. Yeah. The cameramen have 2 shots, ring that way. They can't. They ain't got no cameras panning across the arena.
That's part of the problem. Why don't you book smaller? Like, why would you book those large arenas knowing you're not going to sell even 2,000 or 3,000 seats?
They had to get their ass at Splash Mountain or something. Get a residency there or something.
Like I think Triple H said on the thing that he did with The Rock and Netflix and stuff, and he said, I was here when we were in Lowell, Massachusetts, in these small buildings, and now look where we are now. And I used to go to those Lowell shows, and some of the buildings that they were booking were small, little like mini arenas. And this was going back to, this was like the beginning of Attitude Era, because I went to these Lowell Raws and saw people like Triple H, the Oddities. So, they were still in those small buildings like around that time. So they didn't really move into the big buildings until like the Attitude Era was like when they grabbed WCW, I think, and like kind of brought everything together. So they were still rocking those smaller arenas back then when business was booming,
No, think how the environment was of the original Raw in the Manhattan Center when it was just a tight crowd and everyone was loud, and that's what they need, something like that.
Here are the ECW arena shows from back in the day. It's really just a big bingo hall with bleachers, but it was full and the people were crazy.
Yeah.
How
much you want to bet there's people at that Collision show tonight watching the Rumble on their phone?
Oh, I guarantee it.
100%. It sucks because I do look at that and I say, I'm glad there's competition because it keeps, I think, WWE on their toes a little bit. But at the same time, like I'm more of a WWE guy. It's just more my style. I've tried to watch AEW. It's not really my style of wrestling that I enjoy to watch. But I also think it's kind of nice to see WWE pulling out all the stops to ensure that they stay number one. Like, I think them teaming up with TNA is a good thing. for everyone involved, like they did with ECW back in the day, just to basically say, okay, these guys are on our side, so we'll cross promote with them. If you want to, talk crap about us on the internet or whatever, like, okay, like keep doing your thing. Like I like that aspect. It keeps them on their toes, but at the same time, I like that they're continuing to try to explore ways to continue to show their number one, and to be honest, up until recently, I feel like it was pretty close these last couple of years on what people wanted to really watch. It was getting close, and maybe not in the ratings, but in the fandom that I was seeing. But it seems like people have really turned back the tide on AEW now, because it has changed so much. It's basically like WWE Light, and the whole thing with AEW was we're an alternative to what you see every week. And now it's just become the same thing, but with the guys that WWE doesn't want anymore. So it's tough, but I do think it's good to have competition in play, because I think it helps both people, it's business.
That's one of the interesting things, though, about the whole Netflix thing is really competition doesn't exist for them anymore. Like there's ratings doesn't matter.
Sure. At that point, you're right.
So it would just be like an alternative, I guess.
Isn't Netflix losing money like hand over fist the last couple of years anyway?
I'm not sure.
I heard they
watch
were,
Netflix.
and they were canceling a lot of shows because they were losing a lot of money.
Dude, there's one reason people have Netflix, and I'll tell you what it is: crime documentaries. Nobody does better crime documentaries than Netflix. I'll give them that because I watch all of them. But that's it. That's all Netflix has. And the good shows that they do make, they stop doing it. They just cancel shows. That's another thing that pisses people off. They'll do 2 seasons of a show, and people are like, oh, I can't wait for this. Boom, done. They had a show called Mindhunter. It was insanely good. It actually had the dad who played Fritz Von Erich. Great actor. Canceled.
What about the show on Netflix, though, the WWE stuff? Are they going to keep it PG, do you think? Or they're going to do some... I think they may, some colorful language, throw it in every once in a while.
I think that they'll probably expand it a little bit, but I think they're going to still have to be very careful, like, especially with everything going on in their world right now. I think they're going to be throw a little caution, but I think you might, like you said, hear some language. Maybe blood will be a little bit more on a regular, than try to hide it if someone bleeds. I think that they probably will push the limits a little bit, which will be refreshing to see.
Kind of interesting how they do like commercial breaks and stuff too. They have.
Oh yeah, they said none. They said no commercial breaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Please go to 2 hours. I pray to God it goes to 2 hours. Then 3 hours.
They
have commercials is bad.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
Unless they do like the first hours, like almost like a pre-show or something, they could probably do that. Maybe.
I guarantee you, though, the production style of the show is going to be way different. They're going to make it look more cinematic and probably do other kinds of stuff.
Well, will they do it in 4K too? Because Netflix is in 4K as well.
It doesn't matter because I ain't paying for Netflix 4K. I got that 480p deal still. I'm grandfathered in.
Grandfathered in.
There you go.
That's fine by me.
Some stuff though, man. Like we talk about movies in 4K all the time, but DirecTV has a streaming app where you can stream like football games, basketball games, and shit in 4K. That shit will give me a headache. Like I can't watch like a basketball game in 4K. I just can't.
It's too glossy and
everything is too detailed or whatever. I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm like, yeah. I told my wife, I was like, turn it back just to HD. I'm good.
How much do you think is going to bring Netflix's price up? Do you think it's going to increase their price? Because I mean, they paid for Raw $5 billion for Raw. I mean, that's a big amount of money. You think? No. That's one show, which they're not getting the whole library. They're getting one show.
Do they, as far as tiers go, though, this is going to be a new feature that like the live Netflix shows that they're going to be implementing throughout this next year and getting set up. Is that going to be on a specific tier where, hey, you've got to get this $39.99 a month tier or whatever?
Could, but you know what I was thinking is that people are talking about Peacock in here, and I agree. I have Peacock for wrestling, but man, what a steal it is, though. It's like, what is it, $9.99, $6.99 or something cheap, and you're getting all the old events. You're getting pay-per-views. Like, I mean, it's a steal and a half for Peacock, and I don't use it for anything else.
Man, I mean,
yeah.
Overseas, everything WWE is going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, I want to look into the VPN and just get that. Be good. Get it international Netflix.
Mhm.
That's something else about AEW. I don't know how they're selling pay-per-views when you can get the WWE shows for $6.99 or whatever a month. Like, I'm not paying $60 for AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I'd pay money to see the buy rates on those.
That's what you'd pay for? Like, I'll give you the 60, but I just want to see the buy rate.
I just want to see the buy rate.
I don't want to see the event.
Well,
Just the buy rate.
TNA actually has pay-per-views still as well.
Oh yeah,
not as many. I think they do like 2 or 3 a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where does TNA even air at? Is it on TV anymore or no?
It is. I don't
Pop TV or something.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's a very small channel,
and it's on like Wednesdays, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have
4
no
a.m.
idea.
Tuesday at 4 a.m.
It's interesting to see what happens over
It's
there.
on the Sunshine Network.
I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes, but I think tonight I was very disappointed overall with the whole thing because I was very hyped for it.
Me too.
But I'm curious to see, what the roadmap's going to look like from Mania forward, and to see how people react to it, because I do think that we're going to have Cody and Punk as the 2 champions after Mania. I really think that's what's going to happen.
Typically at the Royal Rumble, though, you get a good idea and you're kind of excited on what's to come, right? For Mania, you get an idea on what they're doing. But for me, I'm not really that excited to see Roman and Cody again. I'm kind of interested in seeing what they do with Bayley, with the whole thing with Damage Control. That's kind of interesting, but like, I don't really care. There's not a big story there for her to win the title again, right? She's had the title numerous times. So are you guys hyped at all anymore or no?
I'm not hyped for it. I mean, I don't care that. I mean, I think Bayley's fine, but it's not someone I'm excited to watch. I think she's going to go against Damage Control. I think Becky's going to go against Rhea, which is a match I'd like to see. I'll check that one out for sure. Brock was supposed to be with Gunther, but now we don't know what the status of him is. So that I don't know what the direction of Gunther is going to be now. Is it Drew? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with those guys now.
And they probably screwed Miz because I'm thinking, well, they should do Miz, but Miz can't because that stupid thing that happened the other week. If he loses this time, he can't. I love the Miz.
So yeah, I don't know where we go. I don't know what tonight showed that this is what's next. I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, it's been fun doing that. We only usually do an hour for these, if I'm remembering correctly. So, if there's anything else though you all wanted to mention about the show or not, throw it at us.
What did you guys think of it as a whole? Like each of you?
Yeah, I thought it was just kind of average. One thing I will say about the men's, I'm trying to find something positive to say, is as I was watching it, this was not a thing in the past, but a lot of those guys they were like intermingling stories with a bunch of guys that are having interactions with each other. And back in the day, we were lucky to have one story going, and they were just throwing matches together. So that's kind of interesting, at least.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I'm thinking about this now. I like heel champions. I think the chase is much better than the catch. Once Cody wins, if he does, okay, cool. Now what? Like, what's he got to go after?
That's going to be the problem.
That's true.
It really is.
My favorite champion, probably one of my favorite champions of all time, is 2000 Triple H. Roman is like Game of Thrones. His theme is epic. When he comes out, everybody stands up. He's fucking awesome. I love heel champions. So I'm cool with Cody winning because Punk's 46 and AJ's 46. Who hasn't stopped wrestling and who can you tell hasn't stopped wrestling? It's pretty obvious. So watching Punk, my heart hurt a little bit. He's not out of shape or anything, but he physically, but he doesn't look physically out of shape. But man, you could tell he took 10 years off.
Well, he come in late in the match too, right? He wasn't out there very long.
But see, AJ's body is so conditioned that they're the same age, and you can clearly see who hasn't stopped wrestling.
To go with your point there, Christian, on heel champions, that's why I wish someone better than Damian Priest as a heel had that Money in the Bank. Because would it not be beautiful for Cody to beat Roman and finish his story and immediately get cashed in on, and that we got a chase going again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which could be exactly what happens, to be quite honest with you, because it's like the story's finished, but then it reopens, right? So they could easily go that route. Do I think they're going to end Mania with Damian Priest holding the briefcase? Probably not. But I mean, it is something that could happen on the Raw and afterwards. I mean, there is possibility there, and I actually think that you might be on the right track with that, because it kind of works with the finish the story, because it's not completely closed. But yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're right. Having a chase, there's always something to do. But at the same time, growing up, we always had that babyface champion forever. It felt like with Hogan, and it worked. And they would just feed him different heels every so often. And maybe as a kid going into it, it was different than if I was an adult going into it, because now you're seeing, that it's just being fed to him, and these guys aren't really going to win. But when you're a little kid, you always thought, like, what if Hogan loses? Even though you knew he probably wouldn't, right? But even Shawn Michaels had a pretty good run. Brett had a good run as babyface champion. I mean, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of like kids as well, looking up to like a Cody and, him overcoming all these heels or whatever. But I don't know. It's either going to be a huge success or a huge failure. And the only way that we're going to find out is if we just let them try.
Well, one thing you got to remember, though, you mentioned Hogan, and they're doing this with Roman, too, and they've done it with Brock in the past. Appearances aren't every week.
Right.
And defenses, defending the belts like every other month, maybe every 2 or 3 months. So I like the fact that they're doing, if you see somebody every week, I mean, it's like Jericho, like you were saying, hell, go away for a while, man. I'm sick of it. It's like the Dudleys never got injured back in the day. You got sick of seeing them every week. The worst thing you can do is have somebody defend that title every month on pay-per-view, on Raw and SmackDown or whatever every week. Got to go away for a while, and the Hogan defenses were special. I think Roman's defenses are special because they're making that the way, in the 80s and early 90s and everything was.
I agree 100% with that. And there are people out there that don't like that. They said, where's the defending champions? And you're right. I don't think that world title should be constantly defended. I think that should be left to the guys with the secondary belts. Have them headline shows. Have them headline some pay-per-views. Have them headline some Raws. Like leave these guys. I mean, sure, Hogan might have had that belt on the house shows and we just never saw it. But from a TV standpoint, you saw Hogan probably defend 5 times a year. That's it. 4 pay-per-views and maybe a Saturday Night's Main Event. That's it.
When people talk like that, I'm just like, I hate to sound like I'm just stating the obvious, but it's like, he needs to defend. It's a fucking television show. It's Game of Thrones. When he shows up, it's like, holy fuck. People freak out. And he literally is like a fucking dragon. When he shows up, everybody's like, oh shit. So I think it's awesome what they're doing. I get excited when he comes out because like you don't see him. It's special. I love Roman. I think he's not as good as 2000 Triple H because man, I fucking hated him as a kid. But now I get it. He was awesome. So I like heel champions. Cody's gonna probably win, but then it's I'm telling you, it's gonna go downhill.
I think you're right. Actually, like I don't hate Cody. There's a lot of people. My wife fucking hates Cody Rhodes, by the way. Oh my God. When he won the night.
I swapped, man. I said Punk, but as I was watching the match, I was just like, man, he took 10 years off. You could just see it on him. I still love him though. Still love him. But Cody's he can go.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think after 1,300 and some days or whatever it's going to be by the time WrestleMania rolls around, Cody Rhodes is going to be the one that beats him. I don't know if I would do it.
Who would you? Is there?
I don't know. I mean, nobody offhand really that I could think of. I mean, I guess he has to lose sometime, but. I mean, maybe it is Cody. We'll see. He is very over. It surprised the hell out of me whenever he debuted a couple of years ago. I was like, he's going to be like mid-Carter. right? But they have pushed the shit out of Cody. There's no doubt. People seem to like him.
I'll tell you who can beat Roman. Let Roman win this WrestleMania. MJF, please get out of that popcorn lane and let him do those Shane Douglas promos, because that's exactly what they are. It's like that extremely angry, yelling, aggressive, monster energy fueled promos. Oh God, man. I love MJF. He's the man. I think he could do it.
I'm sure they want him. They want him there, but I don't know.
He's the real deal.
But yeah, people keep talking about Roman passing. I don't want him to pass Hogan's record personally. I don't. Will he? I don't think so, but it's possible that he does. I don't know. And maybe it's just when I grew up. I just look and feel like Hogan's something. Roman's good, but Hogan's something else. It was something different.
You know who was a great heel champion? None of y'all are gonna agree with me. Fucking JBL. I hated JBL. He was, when he came out, all he did was take that hat off. I was at a SmackDown 2004, and I'm actually on TV. The whole arena, when that limo came out, they were yelling, F you. They were flipping him off. They were booing so hard. That was the best time for SmackDown when he was champion to me, because you just fucking hated him. You wanted to see him get shot, not beat. You wanted him to get shot. That's how much people hated JBL. Those are my favorite kind of champions.
I may be wrong on this, but the specifics, but didn't he like run after people at the border of Mexico and beat the shit out of them?
Oh, that was peak SmackDown.
That was great. That was great.
He was a Border Patrol agent.
I think that was when he was feuding with
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Are you a Guerrero?
Hey, someone's mentioned Dirty Dom. He's turned into a great heel.
Yeah,
dude, he's probably the most over guy in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah,
like for real. Like he walks out and smirks, and that dude's got so much heat. I've never seen anything like it before.
Rhea should have had a match on the Rumble tonight, like a title match or something.
I would have loved to see her tonight. They needed her out there. I actually, even part of me thought she was going to be in the men's Rumble, but.
Did you hear that line that Corey Graves had? They were talking about Dom's dyed boots, and he said he heard he dyed them in jail with Pruno or something like that. That was great.
Yeah, Dom's awesome, dude. I think for what he was and what he is, I mean, they just evolved him so perfectly that like there's no reason this should have ever worked, really. You know, when he first came out, I was like, what is this garbage? Come on, this is going to be awful. He's going to have some babyface son, and he's freaking great, man. And I think the him and Rhea thing needs to stick around for a while because they just work so well.
Mm-hmm.
I think without her, he might be in big trouble. But with her, I think that it's gold.
Yeah. No, they should definitely stick with what they're doing for a while, for sure. All right, guys. But yeah, we appreciate everybody. We've had quite a crowd in here for a wrestling show. Normally the wrestling shows don't go over as well, but evidently there's a huge fan base for the Royal Rumble, at least. So Garrett, Christian, Corey, anything you guys got coming up on the individual YouTube channel? I know Garrett and Christian, you guys do stuff pretty much on a daily basis, it seems like, lately.
I'm not at his level. He's daily.
I've been reviewing documentaries, so I'm actually going to try to stay up and watch Going to Pieces, revisit, because I've seen it, but I'm going to revisit Going to Pieces tonight. And I just ordered IFC's American Nightmare. Somebody was like, dude, I like that more than Nightmares in Red, White, and Blue. And I was like, I haven't seen American Nightmare.
That's a great one, I think, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
It's got like a skeleton on the poster. So I ordered that on eBay for like $7. So as soon as I get
Is that the one where they talk about Shivers in it? Cronenberg Shivers?
I wouldn't know.
There's so many around that time period. I get
they're confused. Fun, man. I'm having a blast because everybody's alive for these, you know. Everybody's dying.
There's another one that I think Mike Mendez did that I don't know if it ever got officially released, but it's probably on YouTube. It's actually called Masters of Horror, the documentary.
Somebody told me about that too, but I don't know if it has I was looking for a DVD of that, but I couldn't find it.
I've got like a review DVD of it, but I don't think it ever officially came out. I don't think they could get rights for some of those movies or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Only thing I want to say about why AEW sucks is because Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, is a mouth-breathing idiot. He can't talk. He can't form sentences. And if you remember that Stone Cold podcast he did, I said to myself, this guy is the biggest idiot I've ever seen. He can't form sentences. He's a moron. And all he does is stick toothpicks in his head now. He bleeds. He sucks. He's terrible. And by the way, Seth, whatever, Rollins, what is his gimmick? He talks with a weird Dr. Evil accent sometimes, and then he stops it. Then it's like he's trying to be like Macho Man with all the colors, but it doesn't. None of it makes any sense to me. None of it. It makes zero sense.
I like the old Rollins with the blonde streak, to be quite honest with you. But.
And honestly, Becky is starting to look like a cracked out version of that girl from The Fifth Element.
She's looking very
she
skinny.
looks like she needs to gain some weight. Like her face, she looked like somebody has a vacuum on the back of her head and they're sucking. Like she can't make. I don't get it. I'm not a fan of her either. Rhea Ripley's a star, and she could literally bend every single one of them, and she could snap all of them in half. Besides Jade, that's the problem with the women's division, because like everybody's like, oh, you need to bring back Sasha Banks. Rhea could sit on her and split her body in half. What are we talking about? Imagine that as a how do you fake that? How do you even fake that? That's why China had to wrestle guys back in the day. People laughed when they tried to put women in the ring with her. It was ridiculous. So Rhea, that's the problem with Rhea. She's just too damn strong and good. Nothing looks real with anybody else. Not even remotely real.
Well, somebody who needs to keep that title for a long time, I think it's Rhea. I don't think that there's any business that she needs to lose that belt, because it's real. It's real. There's nobody that's going to be able to beat her unless maybe Jade Cargill comes in and when she's ready, and that's the one. But other than that, I think she's going to probably work Becky at Mania, and she should beat Becky. You know, she should. She's, in my opinion, I think Rhea Ripley is probably the hottest commodity in all of pro wrestling right now.
She's the real deal.
Across the board, men, women. I think she's the hottest commodity right now.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, who can you even put against her at Mania that's going to be?
It's got to be Becky, because they've never done a show. They've never had a match together as far as like a big match, you know.
And I think would be a spectacle that people would be like, "Oh, this is going to be a match." I don't know if that is really.
No, that's good. That's the highest I think tier that you can probably get is Becky her. Unless it's going to be her and Bianca. But I don't know. But I mean, I agree. I mean, I was the biggest Becky Lynch fan forever. But she doesn't do it for me as much as she did before. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's her look, if it's her gimmick. I don't know.
Needs to go eat a couple sandwiches.
It's weird because like I always felt like it's almost like she got a lot thinner after she had the kid.
Yeah.
You know, her body's changed a lot.
Dude, people are doing this. People are doing this. Like I was watching Natalia do an interview. Everybody's on these let's not eat for 6 days and just drink a bunch of water diet.
Or it could have been they could be doing detox, but she also, who knows? I mean, you know that what's that thing now that everybody's doing that Oprah's promoting and all that stuff? It's like a diabetes drug that they're taking to lose weight.
Oh, Manjaro.
Sure, maybe a lot of celebrities are doing it now. Maybe a lot of them do that. I don't know, but who knows? But I mean, I think that's probably the match we're gonna get is Becky Rhea.
It's gonna be so stupid. Like it's so sad that Rhea has to pretend these girls can hurt her. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's like when I was watching tonight. They had Becky and Nia Jax fighting each other. I'm like, fuck, look at them two, really. Like, oh my God.
They had the perfect opportunity. They had the big white girl that's with Chelsea and Nia. That should have been Godzilla versus King Kong in the Rumble, and they should have knocked everybody out. And then them two just fought.
Yeah,
you know, people hate Nia, so she gets booed.
She does get a reaction for sure.
So
that's one thing you got to say.
Nia versus Rhea would be. I'd watch that because Rhea could legitimately pick up Nia. That's a big bitch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I like when she does that Vader bomb, man. Not Vader. Yeah, it's a Vader bomb.
It was pretty funny tonight though when Chelsea kept getting squished by everybody when she was she's in the corner or whatever, and they just kept ramming into her. I thought that was great. It was a good spot. But yeah, I haven't watched Going to Pieces in forever. Have you watched it yet or not yet?
I've seen it, but I haven't watched my DVD yet because I don't know how much different this is going to be because this says unrated. I'm assuming the clips that they show in this, they'll probably just have. If there's a scene where somebody has like a woman takes her shirt off or something, they just kind of show it. But I remember loving it because anytime John doesn't have to just talk about Halloween, he's usually in a good mood.
Chef Boy Matt, yeah, Ozempic is what I was thinking about. You're right.
Oh,
yeah. Diabetes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Corey, what have you got coming up? You're always doing some stuff too.
I'm actually tomorrow gonna record a video. I'm actually gonna take a trip out to David Emge's grave and track that down because it's about a half hour for me.
Yeah, I know that. I didn't know he lived and was from Evansville, Indiana. I never knew that.
I didn't know he was back, so I thought he just moved away for good, but apparently not. And then for wrestling fans that are maybe new to my channel, it's a couple of years old, but my main video on my channel is an interview I did with Sean Oliver, that's the host of Kevin Nash's podcast. Christian was on there for a little bit
that awesome.
time, so it's a good interview, I think.
He did all kinds of those shoot interview videos back in the day too. That's all over YouTube now at this point. But yeah, love the Cornette one that he did. All right, guys. But yeah, this was fun. Hopefully, this is something we can do on a semi-regular basis. We're talking about maybe doing some old school events at some point as well. Some old WCW, ECW, WWF stuff possibly. So, yeah, I mean, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Check out Planet CHH, S'mores Indoors, BornToBeRad.com, and DeadPit.com.
.com.
Yeah, you go.